Who would be a Wolves fan, eh? On goes Paul. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal! Molineux in all its magnificence.
Good evening and welcome to Wolves Fancast in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network. Welcome to another Friday night episode preview. Looking forward to the first home game of the season against Chelsea. The small army from Stamford Bridge is going to be bringing up all its players, taking over that stable lower tier with all the subs bench, the thousands and thousands of players that they now sign. And to talk to us tonight about the game on Sunday, I've got with myself Rich Griffiths, Gav, and Dean. How are we all doing, guys?
I'm okay. Can I just say I'm glad that we've got the old intro back rather than the "This is the Wolves Fancast."
It's very jazzy.
Yeah.
Definitely something different. So just jumping straight into it. I mean, first home game of the season. Looking at it, you know, the club is struggling to sell out. It's unheard of, really, isn't it, Rich? I mean, you're going into it, a Premier League season, a club who are, you know, got a decent opportunity to do well this season, really push on, really need the fans. To see that we're still, you know, we're not sold out, and we've got all the obviously the resale on top of that. It's looks like, you know, the fruits of Fosun's labours from this summer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's trying not to be negative about it. You know, obviously, again, we can maybe even say it might be because of the cost of things, the cost of living crisis and things, but it'll have a factor. But yeah, it's all doom and gloom still as usual, and hopefully a couple of 3 points will might change the mood and it'll be packed and no one will get a ticket again, and then we could be moaning about that. So yeah, we'll never win. I think, you know, it is what it is. You know, still make enough noise to quiet them Chelsea fans down as usual, no doubt.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. I mean, looking into it, Gav, how are you feeling going into the season now? We've obviously had the first game against Arsenal. You know, still a little bit left of the transfer window. How are you feeling about where Wolves are now and where they're going over the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, I think, you know, prior to the Arsenal game, actually, no, let me take that back. Prior to selling Neto, I was actually very confident going into the season, to be honest, because I was looking at the front three, you're thinking Neto, Tranmere and Cunha, you think that's going to do a lot of damage. And then you take Neto out a little bit, and I know it's only one player, but it feels like it's taken the buzz off it a little bit for me, I think. So we're hoping, you know, we got a week left. I think you'll probably go into it later on, but it looks like we'll do some business. And I think, you know, if we can get like a big name through the door, I think, you know, the excitement will be back. Don't be surprised if the tickets, you know, start selling a bit quicker as well. I think that's probably had a part to play in people not coming. You know, you sold Kilman, you sold Neto. You know, probably haven't replaced them really yet. So yeah, so still optimistic, but at the minute, it's you know, we'll wait and see how the transfer window goes.
And looking at the opposition, Dean, Chelsea, it's the ever-growing squad. It's almost like rabbits over there. That they're increasing. There's more and more of them every time. How are you feeling about wanting to be playing a club like this, where, you know, we really have no idea what side we're going to be up against? It's a challenge in itself, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, Gary O'Neill said the same in his press conference, that he's got an idea of how they're going to play, but he has no idea of what that team's going to be that's going to play that system, which we're all in the same. Like, the most difficult question at the moment is to predict the Chelsea lineup like that. It's bizarre, but just backing a little bit onto the tickets and stuff, and I think the pricing is a big factor in it. And you look, it's bank holiday weekend, the last one of the summer, and people have looked at it and be like, okay, do I want to spend 100 quid going to watch Wolves against Chelsea, or do I want to take the family away for a weekend? And if you look at 2 adults, 2 kids, you're talking best part of like what, £200 just for the tickets.
Easy.
And if you can go to a seaside resort for that for a day or a night, and that's where the pricing's got. People have started to have that back step and look at it and be like, okay, do I still really want to put this first, or do I want to look at my priorities a little bit more? Now there's a few that have done the same, so I think the pricing is a massive factor in it. But going back to Chelsea, I think they've got an embarrassment of riches, haven't they? Like, they've got so much talent and depth. They've sprinkled João Felix into it this week as well. So I know Enzo Maresca said that he doesn't think Neto will play. I still imagine he'll be on the bench. I reckon he will get a cameo at some stage. Whether he'll start, it's a different thing. But I think trying to predict what team they're going to put out is going to be crazy. There's probably about 2 or 3 that would say are nailed on, which is like Palmer. And then there's obviously even the back two. Like, you look at Cole, you think he'd be a nailed on, but he's not. Cucurella probably is nailed on, but everywhere else, Enzo maybe as well because he's captain. But other than that, it could be anyone.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it briefly there. I mean, Gary O'Neill, obviously his press conference was today. It's coming out. It is a challenge playing against this Chelsea side. I mean, you understand that they do have a set way of playing. You know, there is a philosophy ingrained into it, and Enzo Maresca is doing that within the squad. But there is a big feeling that we don't know who the side, what the side's going to be, and who the players are going to be for Chelsea. And O'Neill mentions this, but bringing on to the first point that we've got written down there is that the club are continuing to work on incoming players, as we talked about earlier, and what Gab mentioned. You know, the fans as well wanting to bring players in, but we're not. He doesn't want to comment for obvious reasons on the likes of Ramsdale and O'Shea. How do you feel about these names that have been linked to us? Because I, for me personally, I think Ramsdale is a very divisive figure. Rich, I think he's somebody who, from my opinion, is somebody who wouldn't really improve and bring a massive difference from Jose Sarr. And given his ties and attitude towards his previous employment at a, let's just say, less favourable club, makes him divisive at Molineux. How do you feel about being linked to Ramsdale, especially?
I don't dislike it. I don't care for his previous clubs or if he's supported as a kid. And his Twitter account's probably going to have to turn off if he does sign. But he's a shit house. I mean, that's kind of what we need. I think we don't. Sarr's too nice. Sarr go down on the ground when Ramsey will go through here. So I think it'd be a good signing. Maybe we can have 2 number ones in the team, or in the squad at least. So that'll improve Sarr if we keep him. I have no problem at all with it. I really don't. I know obviously O'Shea with his Albion background as well. So I think we're dipping into that side of the squad again. But again, if we can improve any way we can, I'm all for it. I really am.
Yeah, I think O'Shea especially is somebody who can change in the way that we play football. And I think I was talking to Stu also from the Fancast about this earlier today, is that if O'Neill is trying to do this ethos change and doing this look to improve the way that we play football and play this new high line, lots of pace being in the team, he's going to be one who's important, isn't it, Dean? He's going to be one of the players who's going to have to change what we do and change the way that we play football.
Yeah, it's a confidence in it. Like, you look at the weekend, I know we've gone over Totti and his performance not being the greatest, but also Sarr's distribution wasn't the greatest. So if you've got 2 out of that 3 at the back that aren't filling the rest of the team with confidence with their distribution, then that's something that we need to work on. Do I think Ramsdale's the answer? I don't know. He's not my honest answer. He's a good keeper. You ain't around the England squad if you're not. But he's got a bit of a brick in him as well. But he seems to be a decent lad away from the baggy stuff. The baggy stuff, for me personally, is a lot for me to get past. Like, O'Shea, fine with, because he just played for them. That's not a problem. Whereas Ramsdale, with his supporters and his boing in the South Bank, he's going to have to tread very carefully on his kind of PR, and he's going to have to perform if he does come straight away to get the fans on side, because that could quite easily get toxic for him if he's got that ethos in the fans' mind already that we don't like him, he's a baggy, and then he drops a clanger first game. That ain't going to be good for him. So if he does come, we need to either ease him in gently or what I think would happen is if Ramsdale comes, Sarr goes, and then he would have to perform straight away. But a couple of worldy saves, a couple of right things in the interviews, in the media, he'd be fine. I know obviously on the NS podcast, they were saying that they were very pro Ramsdale on that. So, he's a decent enough lad. He's a bit of a shithouse, like Rich says, but those Baggies links are they're going to be a bit of a difficult one to get past initially.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think it's going to always be difficult for anyone who's been entrenched within that, has that as part of their background, but somebody who's been so openly aggressive about it and antagonistic towards our fans about it is always going to be dangerous. For those watching on YouTube, we have got a little bit of a graphic up talking about what Gary O'Neill has said in the press conference. And the final point on that, Gav, it says that talking more about what came out earlier this week and what put Twitter into a bit of a meltdown, as it were, was the £20 million figure that's been bandied around. And this, if what Gary O'Neill is saying is true, that there is a little bit more than that on the table, does that fill you with a lot more confidence going into the final week? Or do you think maybe that's just another one of Wolves' tactics to say, okay, well, we had the money, but we couldn't get the right person in. We move on, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. I mean, the podcast midweek last week, sorry, we went into this at length, really, and used it as a little false and I don't know what you call it, really, false and dig out, if you want to call it, basically, that whole podcast. But it's interesting that Gary O'Neill said that, really, because obviously John Percy's on the money, isn't he? Usually, when it comes to this sort of stuff. So it's I'm pretty split on to whether he has been told or maybe he's trying to keep it, tight-lipped because he doesn't want to say we've got loads of money going into the last week of the window. But obviously we had some rumours. I don't know if it was today about Andre from Brazil. He's a pretty decent name, isn't he? Really, to be fair. So to get linked with him, but then still have this whole £20 million pound budget, something don't add up, really. If they want Ramsdale, if they want Andre, I can't see how it's all gonna. Like I said, the maths isn't mathing when it comes to that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes in the last week.
Yeah, I think talking more about transfer rumours now and coming back onto what you said about Andre there. Andre was obviously linked with Man United in recent weeks, and they're somebody who's looked at especially at length at João Gomez. And does that give us a confidence that the club are preparing for players to leave and they're putting things into place in case we do sell players? Or is it worrying that once again bigger clubs are trying to poach our players, Rich? Or is what's your mindset on this whole thing?
You can look at it in a couple of ways. It's a compliment that we're doing something right, to be honest, that we're bringing in players and turning them into better superstar type players like Jota, Neto, and they've all become better playing with Wolves and at Wolves. So yeah, obviously Mr. Mendes helping us out originally when we first come up with some of the signings and that, but we want to be better than what we are. We're not a top 4 club currently. We want to be, we're a springboard for people to go to other clubs still, and that's unfortunately the way we've got to look at it. None of us as a fan want to see it. We don't want to see these players go, but it's a fact of fact is what it is. If someone comes in for Gomez tomorrow at 60 mil, he's gone as well. It's just you can't turn that kind of money down. So it'd be a shame to lose these superstars, but like to think we do right with what we have been doing lately with Hobbs and that. We're bringing in other players that are just as good or better. So yeah, keep our fingers crossed, basically.
And how are you feeling going into the sort of final week of the transfer window, Dean? I mean, we've done a lot of business. We've done it early. It's what people have wanted, but it's kind of sort of gone stale from that point up until now. And there's a lot of clubs that have done a lot of business. How are you feeling about what Wolves have done?
I'm happy with what we've done so far, but we are still a few short. Like the squad is better, but the first 11 has regressed, in my opinion. I think that if everyone's fit and everyone's firing, our best 11 probably isn't as good as it was last season because you've lost Kilman, you've lost Neto. But the squad as a whole, you look at that bench against Arsenal and you've got potential game changers on every single slot in there, which is positive to have with people like Semedo still to come back. Going back to the Andre link, Fluminense are kind of pimping him out, for want of a better phrase, I think, all summer. Like, it was meant to be really close with Fulham, the start of the window. That disappeared. United came in. Feels like we're the next one on there. But if we are interested, it is a good contingency to have if there is genuine interest in João Gomez. Like, Hobbs has said previously that every player in the squad, they have scouts set up for a replacement if that player, every player's got a price, basically. And if that price is met, then they will go and then they will move on to the next target they've got in that position. So Andre he's slightly different to João Gomez, but not by much. They're similar in profiles, but a little bit varied as well. He'd be a very good addition if we were to look at him on top, but I would imagine that would mean that Booba would be out, which I wouldn't really like because I like Booba's different skill sets on it. But as for the window going forward, I think we will have a flurry of activity. O'Neill's repeatedly said that he wants proven Premier League players, so Andre wouldn't fit in that. So, but he has also said in the past, he's very coy with his wording. It was, I want players that can impact the Premier League now. He said that previously as well. And he's also used João Gomez in that catchment, that even though he came from Brazil, he was ready to impact now. So I wouldn't mind. I've got a whole list of South American wonder kids that we should go searching for, but that's probably not where we're going to be shopping. It will be more tried and tested. So I think there will be some activity, and I'm confident they'll do the right business if they're allowed to do the right business. That's the thing. I've got utmost trust and confidence in the recruitment, Hobbs, O'Neill. It's the man above them that presses the button to give the money that I don't have the trust in. They will find the targets, they will line it up, but it's whether the big man lets them do it is where my only concern is.
Yeah, I think that's a big fear with, especially from the financial side of things. I mean, it's right to identify the right players and bring the right players in, but if you go for him, the clubs have an understanding of value of individuals, and they know a Premier League club's going to come in. You want the player to improve your squad, and the 10%, 20% tax that goes straight onto a Premier League club is there straight away. Moving on from transfers and talking more about Chelsea. Obviously, they came back into European football in the week, played Servette, won. There was a hilarious moment, and I don't want to slag him off too much in case he plays on Sunday, but Marc Guéhi, who was at Barcelona, missed an open goal. I paused the video to show somebody and said, "Do you think he scores here?" And they're saying, "Why the hell are you showing me this? He's got to score." And the whole the whole series of events that followed was utterly hilarious.
I had 3 people send me that clip because in the summer I was saying that Marc Guéhi would have been a bargain for any mid-table Premier League team because he had a €6 million release clause. It's that low, like €6 million is nothing. But then a few people sent it me straight away and was like, "This the lad you're on about, Dean? Your talent ID is shocking." I was like, "Yeah, thanks."
It was an utterly hilarious moment, and certainly one to get so early in the season, to get a miss of the season contender is hilarious. But looking at the team that they put out there, Gav, it's a change again from the Premier League side.
Yeah.
Do you think that Chelsea going to be sort of lacking cohesion because a lot of these players, the likes of Christopher Nkunku, Pedro Neto's only had a small amount of minutes. A lot of these players, they're not getting 90 minutes week in, week out. And then, do you think they're going to struggle into what Enzo Maresca's trying to do as a manager? And do you think they're going to be prepared physically in terms of their body and mentally to actually challenge in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle. I think Maresca's going to be in for he's got to hit the ground running. And, he's had a decent enough preseason, but they've been signing players all throughout preseason, haven't they? So it's not like us where we got our 3 main players at the start, and then they've had the preseason, got to know the players, get to gel, and Gary's got to work with like Strand Larson, Lima, etc. They've just had players come at him from everywhere, haven't they? Really, so I think he will struggle to try and get his style of play into him. Really, initially, it'll be one of those where it'll probably take him a few months, but will Chelsea give him that time? It seems like they never do, really. So I think, this is why it might be a good time to play them on Sunday, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a good point of view. I think early in the season, it's always good to play bigger teams. We saw that against Arsenal last week. We put a really good account of ourselves in that second half, and really showed that we have the ability to take it to teams like that. And what Gary O'Neill is doing is building a squad that can sort of compete against the top level side, middle of the table, and the bottom level sides. And that's something we've sort of struggled with, isn't it, in recent times, Gav? He's been having to have a side that can compete at all different levels and at all different types of games.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we've always had that problem, haven't we, with the lower teams, especially when they take the lead at Molineux, of breaking teams down. But I think with Gary now, I think everyone's got a bit of confidence. Even under Nuno, there was times where we were struggling against smaller teams. But I think with Gary O'Neill now, it feels like he's got a plan for everyone. It feels like he knows how to attack each team really in every situation. So, you'd hope now we're in a position, especially because he's been here a year, that he's more prepared than he was last year. So we can actually, like you said, teams at the top of the league, compete. That's what we're asking for at the end of the day. We're not asking to go out and slap them 3-0 at the end of the day. We just want to compete, and I think we're on track to doing that really with most teams.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen with the club, and we've seen that where Wolves are going, especially under the leadership of Gary O'Neill and the coaches who are there, is wholly positive. I think the fans have every right to be quietly excited about this season, and going into the Molineux Open is going to be an exciting time. I've had a fantastic comment on YouTube from Danny P up in Minnesota. Sorry, not Minnesota, Maryland. Sorry, Todd, if you're listening as well. I get confused so easily sometimes. But yeah, Danny P on the comments somewhere at Compton. Hobbs looks over the stream of his computer, crumples up Dean's skating application, and just shakes his head. That's you finished, that is, Dino.
He needs to
the whole Mark Gay thing.
Every kind of wonder kid or scouting tweet I put out, Danny's one of the first to like it. So, he obviously rates it behind closed doors. This is just for show.
So what he's saying, Danny, is people in glass houses shouldn't be throwing stones. Remember that, mate. Remember that. Obviously, game week 2. We were all looking forward to it. The second game of the season, first game at Molineux, but there's some hell of a lot of really good games on this weekend. So sort of looking at what we've got, for those on YouTube right now, you can see a graphic has come up. There's some really, really, really tasty games in there, isn't there, Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of looking at them, which one are you most looking forward to, apart from the Molineux home game, obviously?
I don't know. I suppose you've got to look at Fulham and Leicester. This decent setup again. City, whether they're going to turn the style against Ipswich or whether Ipswich are going to frustrate like they did against, obviously, Liverpool the first week. See if Villa are going to turn up and, blow teams away like they were doing last year against Arsenal. So there's quite a few tricky ones, to be fair. There's some, even Bournemouth, Newcastle on the Sunday as well. So there's some big fixtures as usual, but yeah, you can only really look at ours, can't we?
And looking at those, Dean, from an FPL standpoint, which game has got the sort of chance to give us some really big points, and which game has got is going to ruin somebody's weekend from an FPL?
I'm pretty sure the game I predicted last week finished 1-1, so that was a horrendous prediction. But I think it depends on what you want. If you've got attackers, then you're looking at Southampton Forest, because the neither defense is great. So if you've got attackers from either of those teams, you're laughing. If you're looking to bank that kind of clean sheet bonus, then I'd probably go Villa Arsenal. I reckon that'll be a very cagey 0-0. They'll just feel each other out. But you want to lump on City, don't you, really? Because Ipswich have signed a lot of players and they still won't have bedded in yet. So if you go City strong, which if you're a bit trying to be a hipster like me and you haven't got Haaland, then it's gonna come back and bite you, isn't it? But yeah, when it comes to FPL, I can't really be trusted because I had Solanke as my main striker and he's out this week injured. So I'll have to defer to Gav on that one.
To be fair, I forgot to take Solanke out. I still got Solanke in. Oh shit! I didn't even realise that actually. Damn. Yeah, I think you're looking at Haaland captain there, right? Yeah, against Ipswich. You'd think. I'm the same. I haven't got Haaland in either. decided to spread it across the front line. I think I've got Watkins and Solanke up front. I've got, but in terms of the games, I think Tottenham Everton. There's always something about that game that ends up being quite good. I think it's always high scoring. I mean, Richarlison always tends to score against Everton now, doesn't he? So you're probably looking at him to score in that one again.
Yeah, I think it's a very tasty weekend. A lot of the big sides obviously got traditionally easier games. I mean, looking at those, say the well, that's not, I don't want to talk about Aston Villa. We'll forget about that. But Man City, Ipswich, Liverpool, Brentford, and you've got the Man United Brighton game. Which game there has got the most likelihood of causing an upset for you, Rich? What do you think?
Oh, Brighton all day, isn't it? Really? Decent setup, out of a squad. Only improved again in the summer. Still really don't know what you're going to get from a United team from week to week, which has been happening for a while, to be fair. But yeah, Brighton for me by a mile.
Yeah, I think there's every chance of seeing sort of early season upsets. I think the one I've got my eyes on the most is probably Crystal Palace West Ham. I think that could be a really good game. Some very good players there, Crystal Palace, and the pragmatism of Lopetegui could really create sort of a difficult atmosphere for West Ham fans, and I think there's a lot of pressure already from their fans going against his style of football and how he goes against the West Ham way. I don't know what that is. I still haven't seen a proper definition of this, but it does exist apparently. Sort of looking at the game, we'll step away from that for a second. Obviously, we talked about last week on the previous show, we talked about the new merchandise store that we've set up. Dean, you're wearing obviously the Joao Gomez kit.
Joao Gomez one.
I'll remove everything from the screen for a minute. I'll give you a chance just to really show it off. I know it's a slightly older design, but let me bring you in, mate. Hold on, try and work this out. But
what's that old game show where you're moving windows? Oh, everyone's disappeared. Yeah, so this is the Joao Gomez design. We have changed it slightly. It's called the Pitbull, but the Joao has disappeared to up here now, and we put the Fancast logo there. But yeah, everything's on the T-Mill one. This is a prototype, which is why I've managed to keep hold of it. But yeah, get involved. Some decent designs on there. Give us a shout if you've got any ideas on them. We do ship worldwide, Danny. Also, you've also got the quiz as well, which Jafo mentioned just then, which we had a bit of anarchy this week because we had a rogue person doing the quiz for us. Gully decided to give the questions, and I think he decided to make them as hard as he physically could. I lost my 100% streak. I've only got 7 out of 8 on this one. But the quiz, it's a good laugh. Causes a bit of banter in the group chat that we've got, and by all means, get involved with us. Send your scores over, see how you get on. But yeah, that's my bit on the T-Mill and the quiz.
Yeah, I'm looking at it with the T-Mill stuff and the designs they're putting out there. Like you say, for those on YouTube who are watching, that design, the Joao Gomez one is fantastic. It's one of my favourite ones that we put out there.
I like that one actually. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's sort of, it would be fantastic for us as Fancastians and just Wolves fans as well in general. If we see some of these home games and away games, it fills us with a lot of happiness. And for those who aren't watching on YouTube and are listening through all your normal sort of audio sources, wolvesfancast.tmill, that's TEEMILL.com. Please go over there, have a look. We're updating it all the time. We're looking for people to submit designs, as well. We want to try and bring in as much from Wolves supporters as well to be inclusive of, fan-made designs. But we're also trying to put something out there different, and we want to try and put something a bit more modern out that's provided by the club as well. Yeah, and as Dean mentioned, go on.
Now you carry on. All I was going to say is that we've got a little competition going on at the moment on our Fancast social media. So if you go onto the Twitter page, retweet, there's a tweet in there with the Rodrigo Gomez design. If you retweet it and he starts on Sunday, then we're going to give away a free T-shirt. But on this one as well, if you don't like the colours, if they're a bit bold, we've got just a little one that's just literally the Pitbull underneath it, and it's just black and white. So it's just not as in your face as this one.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think, as you mentioned as well, Dean, we've got the FC quiz app. If you go on there, look for the Wolves Fancast. It's a new quiz every week. It's something that we want people to get involved with. Post your scores, challenge all your friends on sort of social media, on your X, Twitter, through your WhatsApp groups. You know, we want to see people putting it out there and showing off and saying, you know, I've got the best Wolves knowledge. I've got the best, you know, I'm the best out of this group, the best out of this group. It's always good to have a nice bit of friendly banter. But bringing it around, back to the Chelsea game, final sort of thoughts. How are we feeling going into the game? What are our sort of score predictions? I'll go around the room. I want to start with you, Dean. A little bit better than the 1-1 you had last week on the old FPL. How are you feeling about the Chelsea game?
I've got a funny feeling. I think we'll do well, but we won't keep a clean sheet because it's Wolves. I'll go for 2-1 Wolves. I think we'll go 2 up. I think they'll score, and it'll be a very nervous last half hour. As I think it'll go. And scorers, we go with scorers. Strand Larson to get off the mark, and I will go Matt Doherty because he loves a goal against Chelsea.
That's bold. I'll come to you, Gab. How are you feeling? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty similar, to be fair. I think, Molineux first game. There's always a bit of a buzz in their first game. Not so much doom and gloom at the minute, so everyone should be in high spirits, you'd hope anyway. But yeah, I'll probably go for 2-1. I'd have to back that as well. 2-1, Strand Larson, first goal. I think Neto's going to come on, and he's got to score any. It's only right if he does, because everyone scores against us, don't they? Andy Keogh, Adlin Guardiola, you can reel them off, can't you? All these ex-players that have scored against us. It's ridiculous. Honestly, I think it's a curse. The amount of people that have actually come to Molineux and actually scored. Honestly, it doesn't happen to any other club like this, does it really? You can reel them off. Robbie Keane, Andy Keogh. I'm pretty sure Coitley scored against us as well. We've had loads, ain't we? So Neto to come off the bench. Neto to score off the bench for me.
And before I come to you, Rich, I'll get mine because I know you're going to be positive, mate, 'cause you always are. You're a very glass half full kind of guy. I'm thinking 2-2, point to get off the mark. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think nice to see a couple of goals of Molineux, but as you say, Dean, I don't think it's going to be a clean sheet. I think there's definitely going to be some defensive error or a miscommunication because I think we're still trying to understand how to play this back four, and players are still getting used to playing in the Premier League. But yeah, Rich, take it away, mate. I know you're going to be positive. Well, I hope you are after all that.
Yeah. So interesting stat, right? It's someone I only saw earlier. Chelsea have won 44 and we've won 43 against each other when we've been playing. So I thought that would be a lot more wide open than it is because recent memories, they've spanked us royally a lot. So yeah, I'm confident. 3-2. Maybe overconfidence is a good thing sometimes. I think that probably the weekend they'll have one player from that midweek game starting, which is Caicedo. Everyone else is potentially fresh. But again, it's game time. Everyone needs game time. We've got a settled team, settled-ish squad. We kind of know what we're going to produce. So yeah, hopefully 3-2 win. Larson gets off the score sheet in the Prem finally. Yeah,
I think that's a great way to sort of come to an end. So wrapping it up, sort of Gary O'Neill press conference. Won't comment on Ramsdale, won't comment on O'Shea, but we're hoping to do work in the last sort of 7 days of the window. Then we're looking at sort of Chelsea, ever-growing squad. It was fantastic talk we had about that. But really, really excited. Hoping that Neto doesn't play well against us at the weekend. And for those of you on YouTube and for those of you on who are listening as well, I just want to play a little clip that will it's sort of forever ingrained within me from Pedro Neto's time. And it was during a true and false episode. And it still makes me laugh. It's only a couple of seconds, but it's something that's just very Pedro Neto. And yeah, take it away, Pedro.
Very, very false.
True.
No, very, very false. It's so false. It's very bad.
Will he score? And that's the response.
Very, very false. No goal. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for coming on and talking about the preview. Glad we could have a laugh talking about it and end on such a silly note as well. Yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you talking. We'll catch you next time on the Wolves Fancast preview. Catch you on all the socials, Wolves Fancast, and then catch us on. I think we're back on Sunday for the review show. And catch you next time. Thanks, Wolves fans.
See you later, everyone.
See ya.